Aphelocoma Chapter 3 The Bobcat. When Aph regained consciousness, they had been sat up, leaning up against the rock wall behind them. A thick blanket had been laid over them, keeping most of the autumn night chill off them. Aph looked up and saw Phelana and Acanthus sat opposite each other, cross-legged. They seemed to be deep in a whispered debate.
"I'm telling you, Faye, this is the one we was looking for. They think their name is Aphelocoma, as in two different names. They have no idea who or what they are."
Respectfully, Acanthus, I'm not yet convinced. Their name could be a coincidence, and as I pointed out earlier, they still look completely human. If they were the heir, that shouldn't be the case.
Faye, you should have seen them in the tunnels, though. I'm telling you, they commanded them passageways like they was born to. I'm actually afraid to take them back through too many times. Heavens above only knows what'll happen if this passageway was made more prominent.
At the mention of the passage, Phelana turned to examine the entrance. It does seem wider than before. Perhaps you have a point, but... Oh, I think our friend has awoken. Acanthus turned his gaze as well.
"Morning there, Aph. How you feeling?"
Not great. I don't feel like I'm about to keel over, though, so that's progress, I suppose. Progress indeed. Phelana adjusted her position to face Aph with her hands in her lap. I apologize for how disturbing this all must be for you. It's my understanding that Acanthus did not provide any warning as to our appearance. With this, she cast her eyes sideways at her old compatriot. It was hard for Aph to discern this, given that her eyes were solid black, but the body language conveyed her annoyance well enough. I wish we had the time to explain more. However, we need to be moving soon. Once an associate of ours arrives, we'll be moving to a safer locale. In the meantime, what questions can I answer for you? Well, is it rude to ask about the whole... Aph pulled their hand out from under the blanket and vaguely waved it over their face, indicating the areas that Phelana and Acanthus had feathers sprouting. Ah, you mean the whole bird-person thing, yes? Aph nodded. Well, Aph, we aren't humans, not in the strictest of terms anyway, and we don't hail from the world you know. In fact, we're not in the world you know at all. One clue is above you. Aph tilted their head back and gazed up into the night sky. It was alive, like Aph had never seen before. It was not like the stunningly complex maze of threads which Aph had seen from the central passage room, and yet it felt closer to that than the sky Aph knew. The stars were vibrant and numerous. Aph could recognize the Orion constellation, so they knew it was more or less the same stars from the same vantage point, but the sheer number of visible stars astounded them. If I'm not mistaken, the phenomenon which keeps most humans from truly appreciating the night sky's beauty is called light pollution. We are lucky enough not to have that issue. Aph looked back down to Phelana. Acanthus and I, and most people you'll meet in this world, are shapeshifters. Each of us has an animal form and a human form. Our present appearance is what we look like at rest, but with a little focus and effort, we can either appear more human. Phelana paused to demonstrate. She closed her eyes, and Aph watched in shock as she transformed. The feathers on her head seemed to meld together before splitting again into normal human hair, which fell into long braids that hung over her right shoulder. Once the change was complete, she opened her eyes to reveal they had become normal human eyes. Her irises were still quite dark, but not quite black, and the whites of her eyes stood out on her face. Or we can appear more like our specific animal. Her eyes closed once more, and this time her change was much more rapid. Her hair reverted to feathers, which crept over her full face. Her nose, mouth, and chin thinned and moved closer and closer until it was a short, curved beak. Her arms lifted off her lap and twisted behind her as they shortened. Her black cloak melded with her body, becoming a cloak of black feathers speckled with gray and striped with dark orange. Her overall size shrank until she was that same small bird that Af had seen earlier. Thankfully, we are still capable of speech while in animal form. While in your world we are locked into being either fully human or fully animal. We can change between the two at will, but it is a much more difficult and slightly painful process than in this world. Here, we are free to be anywhere on the spectrum of human to animal, and with enough practice and focus, we can control specific aspects and areas of our transformation. A favorite party trick of Acanthus is to turn into his small green songbird form with his old man face instead of a beak. It delights and terrifies children in equal measures. It does not terrify them. Maybe they run away screaming sometimes, but that's just because they're jealous. Acanthus beamed at Af with a strange sort of pride at that thought. Do you want to see Af? Oh, maybe later. I think that might be a bit much for me right now, Af sheepishly replied, trying to keep them self-grounded. Phelana, I know you said we're not in the world I'm familiar with anymore, but where are we then? Because other than the stars, so far it seems the same. Well, there's a very good answer to that question. Phelana paused to briefly transform back into her mostly human form. This world we are in, the world Acanthus and I are from, is a sort of twin to your world. Very similar at first glance, but it isn't the same. Some aspects of our world reflect yours, and some aspect of yours reflect ours. It's hard to put into words, but as you spend more time here, I believe you'll get a grasp on it. Think of it like some sort of dream world. Things that aren't possible in your world easily happen here, like the shape-shifting. Indeed, the rules of this world are... well, they're different, that's for sure. Af took a moment to try and absorb all that information before choosing the next question to ask. Earlier, I heard Acanthus refer to me as the heir, and when we were being chased down by that... what did you call her, Acanthus? An owl assassin? She called me a foundling prince boy. What was that all about? Ah, yes, that would be Titalba. She's an agent for a group of individuals we don't need to get too deep in the weeds with right now. As for her comment, well, Af, we believe you are... Phelana was cut off by the rustling of leaves and the snapping of a twig. Both of the older two in the group snapped their attention to the sound. Quietly padding into the small clearing was a large cat, about 2 feet tall at the shoulders, with distinctive pointed ear tips and tufts of fur growing out of the sides of its face. It was staring down Phelana. Af recognized it as a bobcat and froze, fearing that it would attack one of the older bird people. Instead of fear, Phelana let out a gasp of relief. You sneaky young man, you nearly scared me half to death. Maybe if you had been quieter, I wouldn't have been able to sneak up on you so effectively. Is this the prince? The cat turned to face Af. His yellow-gray eyes seemed to burn into them, and Af felt their face go red. Af, this is our associate, Bailey. Bailey, this is Af. And we think so, yes. Phelana stood up, helping Acanthus get to his feet. Af lifted the blanket off themselves and began to stand. Once they were most of the way up, though, another wave of vertigo hit them, and their left leg gave out. Af closed their eyes, and their reflexes kicked in, reaching their arms out to try and catch themselves and stop the fall. But a pair of hands grabbed them by the arm and sighed. Whoa there, fella. Take it easy. You okay? Af opened their eyes in surprise. Bailey must have transformed in time to catch them. Yeah, I think I will be. They looked up to meet Bailey's eyes, now a much sharper green, though with a hint of an almond-shaped iris. Instead of human ears, Bailey had a pair of large bobcat ears on the side of his head, slightly higher up than human ears normally would be, and Af could see them twitch slightly in the breeze. His hair was light brown, spotted and striped with black and white. Bailey's hands felt abnormally warm to Af, and they realized they were still covered in fur, that same spotted and striped brown. The fur was so soft, though, it hardly registered, and Bailey's grip was gentle, but still, he was holding Af up completely with his own strength, and it hardly seemed to have an effect on the feline man. Af might as well have been a couple of pillows for all the effort it took Bailey to hold them up. "I'm just fine now, thanks,"